I've always liked being alone, not in a depressing way, just peacefully. I used to think silence was comforting. Now I'm scared of it. I'm scared of what I heard in that silence. This happened last year. I had just gotten out of a really dark phase in my life. Lost someone, went through a long period of burnout, and I thought some time away in the woods would help me reset, so I packed up for a solo camping trip in a national forest. I won't say where, not because I'm trying to be mysterious, but because I haven't gone back, and I don't want anyone else going there either. I arrived in the afternoon, parked at the trailhead, and hiked a few miles into the forest. The air was crisp, the trail empty, and the silence was too perfect. Not a bird, not a squirrel, no wind. It felt like everything was holding its breath. I set up my tent in a clearing off the trail, made a small fire, and ate dinner. I even recorded some voice memos on my phone, talking to myself about the trip, journaling aloud. It's a weird habit, but it helps me decompress. Around 9 p.m., the forest started to feel different. Not dangerous, just aware, like the trees were listening. You ever get that feeling that someone's behind you, even though you're completely alone? I had that. For hours. I went to sleep early. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up to something that made my blood run cold. Someone was calling my name from inside the forest. But here's the thing. It wasn't just a voice. It was my voice, exactly the way I speak. Same inflection, same rhythm, like someone had taken a recording of me and was playing it through a speaker. But it was wrong. It echoed from deep between the trees, not near the trail, not near camp. Somewhere out past the clearing, maybe 20 yards into total darkness, I stayed completely still. I didn't unzip the tent. I didn't move. I just laid there, holding my breath, trying to convince myself I was dreaming. And then it said something else again, in my voice.
"You're not supposed to be here." When the sun came up, I forced myself to laugh it off. Maybe I'd heard my own voice in a dream. Maybe it was a memory from the voice memos I recorded earlier. I packed up and decided I'd move camp a few miles east, closer to the river. But that entire day, I felt like something was watching me, like the forest had eyes. I even found footprints behind a tree. The weird part is, they looked like mine. Same boot tread, same size. I hadn't walked there. The second night, I built a larger fire. I didn't sleep. I sat outside the tent with a flashlight and a knife, even though I knew neither would help if something went wrong. And around 2:30 a.m., I heard laughing. Not a scream, not a growl. Laughter. It was my laugh. I recognized it instantly. A dry, single-breath exhale I do when something isn't funny, but I react anyway. And then I heard it whisper, "Come back to the first spot." I nearly threw up. I hadn't said that aloud. No one else knew where I'd been the night before. I didn't sleep. I hiked out at sunrise, didn't eat, didn't drink, just hiked until I saw my car again. When I finally got home, I plugged in my phone, backed up the photos, deleted most of the recordings. But one file, one voice memo, was dated from that first night, at 2:14 a.m. I swear to you, I didn't press record. I hit play. At first, it was silence, ambient noise, crickets, a soft breeze. Then, I heard myself breathing, and then a voice, my voice, whispered so quietly it barely registered, "Found you." That's when I stopped camping. I've since tried to show the recording to friends, but weirdly, it won't play now. Just static. It only played once, the day I got back. I've asked myself 100 times, what was in that forest? A mimic? A spirit? Some kind of echo? Or maybe I brought something back with me. I still wake up some nights hearing myself, outside my window, or down the hallway. I haven't left my apartment since last week, because last night, my phone recorded a new memo. It's just one word, inside. I've lived in some weird places, but nothing, and I mean nothing, comes close to what happened when I moved into apartment 3B. It's been a year now, and I still sleep with a light on. I've never told anyone the full story, mostly because it sounds fake, but it's not. It happened to me. I wish it hadn't. About a year ago, I had just moved cities for a new job. Money was tight, so I found this older apartment building just outside the city, kind of sketchy, but cheap, quiet, and mostly empty. They gave me Unit 3B. When I signed the lease, the landlord said something weird. "You've got no upstairs neighbor. That one's been empty for a while." I thought nothing of it. Empty meant quiet, and quiet was exactly what I wanted. But I didn't even last 3 nights before I realized something was wrong. Around 1 a.m., just as I was falling asleep, I heard a loud scraping noise above my bed. It was the sound of furniture being dragged across hardwood floor. Long, slow, heavy, like someone was moving a couch or a dresser back and forth. I actually smiled at first, thinking, so much for it being empty. But the next day, I asked the building manager if someone moved in above me. He just looked confused. 3C? No, that's still vacant. Why? I didn't know how to answer. The noise kept happening, always at night, always above me, dragging, knocking, even the sound of something tapping the ceiling directly above my bed. I recorded it on my phone. I even banged on the ceiling once, and something banged back. The manager insisted no one had keys to that unit. I was the only one complaining, so I stopped asking. 2 weeks in, I decided to organize the closet in my bedroom, just to take my mind off things. The back of the closet had a weird panel that felt loose. It looked like painted over drywall, but when I pressed hard enough, the panel cracked inward, revealing a metal latch underneath. A trapdoor, in the back wall of my closet. It was small, maybe 2 feet wide. I pulled it open. Cold air hit my face. Inside was a narrow tunnel, leading to a sealed-up brick room. I grabbed a flashlight and squeezed through. The room was maybe 6 by 6 feet, old bricks, no lights, dust everywhere. In the corner was an old wooden crate, nailed shut. I pried it open, expecting rats or junk. What I found was a stack of Polaroid photos. They were old, curled, dusty, faded, and each one was of a person sleeping. Different rooms, different angles, different people, always at night, always taken from close range. The photo that broke me. At first I told myself it was some old photography project, something left by a weird tenant years ago. But then I found the one that made my heart stop. It was a photo of me, lying in bed, face turned, blanket half on, taken from just a few feet away. And the worst part? The timestamp on the back read, last night, 2:44 a.m. I checked my phone. At that exact time, I had been asleep, and the noise above me had been louder than ever. I left that night, didn't even pack. I called the police, filed a report, even gave them the photos. But they found nothing. No one in the sealed room, no signs of entry, no fingerprints, no cameras. They told me politely that I probably imagined most of it, said I was under stress, and that maybe I took the photo myself in my sleep. But they didn't explain how someone got into my closet, or why the sound stopped the moment I left. I still check my phone every morning, and last week, I woke up to find a new photo on my nightstand. It was of me, lying in my new apartment, sleeping. This happened just over a year ago, but I still think about it almost every night. I've gone back since, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to believe what I saw wasn't real. But I never found it again. The church, I mean. The one that shouldn't have been there in the first place. So me and my friend, Chris, who I've known since college, had this weird tradition. Every fall, we'd go on a random weekend trip to some forgotten town. No hotels, just road trip, document everything, make it a little mini YouTube doc for fun. That year, we picked a ghost town somewhere deep in the mountains. I'm not going to say exactly where. It was one of those places that got wiped off the map decades ago. Nothing but old ruins, collapsed barns, and decaying signs. We brought gear, cameras, flashlights, even a drone. And then we found it. The church. It wasn't on the map. It wasn't in the historical records we looked up before the trip. It was just there, right at the end of a broken asphalt road. A church that looked like it hadn't aged a day. White paint still intact. Windows not shattered. Doors unmarked. And most disturbing of all, the front door was locked. But inside, we saw candles lit and food placed carefully near the altar. Fresh food, still warm. Chris laughed it off. Said maybe someone was squatting there or trying to preserve the place. But I couldn't shake the feeling. That place wasn't abandoned. It was waiting. Inside the church, Chris tried the front door. Locked. We walked around back and found a small side door that was cracked open. I didn't want to go in. I said I'd wait outside and fly the drone. Chris rolled his eyes, grabbed the flashlight and said, "I'll be 10 minutes. Get some cool shots." He went inside. I never saw him come out. I waited, called, texted. Then I stepped inside, just to the threshold. All the candles were out. No light, no sound. The place that looked alive just minutes ago was now dusty, dead, and cold. There was no altar, no furniture, no smell of food, just an empty shell. I searched every room, every corner, screaming his name. Gone. I ran out, drove to the nearest ranger station. They searched with dogs and drones for 3 days. But when they pulled up my drone footage, there was no church. The footage showed a stretch of overgrown woods, not even ruins, just trees. A week after I got home, I received a package in the mail. No return address, no postage, just my name on the front. Inside, wrapped in old newspaper, was a VHS tape and a sticky note. "You left him behind." I had to buy a used VCR just to play it. When I hit play, the screen was black for about 30 seconds. Then it cut to Chris, sitting in the front pew of that church, looking directly at the camera. He was crying. Behind him, I could see those candles again, and the door, still locked. He whispered, "Please come back. Please. It won't let me leave unless you come back." And then the tape ended. Police couldn't trace the tape. The post office had no record of delivery. And the church? I've driven every road in that forest. There's no trace, no coordinates, no structures. But I remember everything. The way the food smelled, the exact pattern in the stained glass windows, the faint sound of bells, even though the steeple was empty. And sometimes, when I'm falling asleep, I swear I hear Chris's voice whisper, "I'm still here." And I don't know if he wants me to save him, or if he's part of it now,